Meow.
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 Meow. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us on Crafted. And look, I've got two special guests right here. I've got Peplin and the amazing Foxy Fishes. How are you guys doing? Oh, and it's Foxy and Peplin. Oh, I like how you guys wrote that. Now, normally I wouldn't start while James is going, but we're trying to see if the send over thing works. So we'll see. Oh, look. It starts in 5 seconds. Because I've been watching James on the other side. Well, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So, but we don't have Skipper tonight yet, which I hope everything is okay with Skipper. I want to make sure that I sent him a link. Because normally Skipper's always here. But so one thing is Foxy is 40 away from 1,000.
So very
if
close.
we would love, I mean, maybe everybody that watches me is probably already subbed to you, but if anybody, oh, and let's see if I can do this. I'm going to see if I can paste. Bam. And let's see if that actually goes to your channel. Yeah, it does. How awesome is that?
Awesome. That's awesome, Ed.
36 away.
Thank you so much. Yes, and we're currently at 36 away, 4 from the last stream. Thank you so very much for the shout out, Ed.
Oh, you bet. Well, and hopefully it'll keep going up throughout the stream. And we have the amazing Skipper. Now, I don't know if James might be off and on right now because of the really bad weather he's got. I don't know if you guys noticed. I was afraid it was me blinking out or him in his stream. Because he would kind of go blank sometimes.
It was him.
But Skipper, it's good to see you too.
I was having technical difficulties myself getting on. It's like,
oh,
we
and you kind of sound
difficulties during the hot mess too. Dee Dee had a duplicate of herself backstage. I was making her double the whole live, and we couldn't get it to go away. So it's still living back there, and we've left the stream since.
Well, I can tell that both of you guys sound different to me. Like James was crystal clear in the last stream to me, but he couldn't hear me. And both of you guys are a little quiet for me.
Huh.
Oh well, we'll just get through it. Hopefully I don't talk over anybody. If I do, I'll just apologize right now.
We'll just have to use our inside voices.
So today is fish versus fish. And this is where we rate a fish. 1 is terrible, 10 is best, and we have to decide what the overall rating is at the end. And what we'll do is and the people also get a vote here too. So you guys, what we'll do is I like to set up my dice thing, and I'm going to roll the dice to see so it's not always just the first guy. It could be the 8th guy, That way, just somebody fast isn't always going to win.
That way it's fair.
But yeah, well, let's see. Oh gosh, I should have had this ready. I had it, and I was afraid that I didn't send you a link, Skipper. So now I have to find my dice again. Oh no, where's my dice? Oh, this is terrible TV.
Well, you got a $10 super chat from the lady Diane. She's going to lurk.
Oh, thank you so much, Lady Diane. Now, next week, I decide to do a fish versus fish this week because I'm going to be in Missouri next week, and I won't be doing any shows. I'm giving the whole week to my best friend, Ted. He's getting married on Friday, so I'm just not going to do any streaming next week at all. We're just going to hang out like we were in high school, I guess.
Wait, a whole week of no Ed live streams? Nana's not going to like that.
Crazy.
I'm going to be upset.
Oh, yeah, that's going to feel weird.
Okay, I got my dice. And it's a 6-sider. How do I change? I need to change it to a bigger dice. Okay. Let's see if we do this right. Oh, here we go. I'm going to roll a 10-sided dice. So if you're in the first 10, you got a shot.
You
And
have
then,
you have another super chat from Leslie Perry, $10. I had to match Lady Diane's.
well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it quite a bit. Thank you. And it'll help me with my crafts for the future. This one, though, was just more time because I had to figure out what we're going to do is, and I just found out in James's stream that PetSmarts might be going out of business, but we were going to rate PetSmarts beginner fish because I highly recommend everybody buy their fish from their local fish store or online. These guys have amazing fish on Get Gills. And is it called Peplin Creeks Aquatics on
Yes.
Get Gills?
Yep.
I mean, they don't. Okay, I've always said that Dan does the best packing, but you guys, I think, may have topped Dan. You guys are almost very similar, except you guys do it in really nice really nice straight across piles, which is just, I don't know. It's pretty nice. And then
blanket.
you might get an awesome card too. I got the coolest card in the world. But nevertheless, so these are going to be the top 10 fish that PetSmart sells. And we're going to figure out what's the best to tell a beginner and the worst to tell a beginner to get. Or let's say you live in some place where there's no fish stores and it's freezing cold outside, so there's no deliveries right now for fish. Let's say you're in Fairbanks, Alaska. Your only choice is PetSmart. Now, does Peplin hate PetSmart? Oh, he's turned into Nico.
He wants to be Nico right now.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see if Nico
Nico's
likes
here
it.
visiting.
Oh, he's too busy sleeping. That's awesome. So, you guys ready to do this?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. I'm going to go here. And now this is the order that they downloaded onto StreamYard because I put all 10 in at the same time. So this isn't. Oh. Yeah, I wrote them in a different order than this too. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of looking around. But here we go. The Corydoras. I should have said the Cory cat. And I almost said Corydoras, but that makes Dr. Anthony mad. So the Cory cat. We'll see it again. The Cory cat.
The Croy cats.
Yeah. And I put the price down also for how much they cost. So that was $4.48. And it's not necessarily you're going to get the albino. You know, it's what they got. So I'll just start that I think Cory cats are a great fish for beginners. They're super fun. You want to buy them in a group of 6 or more because they like to be with each other. So I would probably buy 8. And if you had, let's say you started off with a 30-gallon tank and bought 8 of those little albinos, that'd be so cute. And they would go up and down together. It would be awesome. That would be, I think, a good beginner tank, even a beginner fish. Not very expensive for a starter. Oh, we got the amazing James. Awesome.
Hello.
And James probably could have brought himself up. I don't know if he wanted to. Uh-oh, James, you're still muted.
He needs to put his mic down.
There we go.
Oh.
Oh no, it's
Oh,
I had the mute button hit when I was cursing at my mic because nothing was working and the internet didn't load.
Well, James, what we're doing is these are the best beginner fish to buy at PetSmart. And I've already said it's better to go to your local fish store or, order from somebody else online or go to a fish swap. But for a beginner that's brand new, that's just going to a PetSmart, we have the Cory Cat as the first one that came up today. And I'm going to give a Cory Cat a big number 9 because I really like Cory Cats. And I think you can get a generic Cory Cat for $4.50, spend $25 and get a whole mess of them, and it'd be fun. Okay, James, I'll let you go next.
Ooh, I'm going to rank that up at the top because I think that is one of those beginner fish that everybody should try out, and it's really easy to fall in love with Cory. So I'm also going to give it a 9. So there's just a little bit of leeway for something to beat it out.
Okay. And Skipper, can you tell the people when to start putting their numbers down? Awesome. And then Skipper, I'll go to you, and we'll let Foxy finish up.
Oh, I'm already going with a 10. Why?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it was a great first fish for me whenever I had it. Also, it's my favorite fish. And they're great bottom dwelling fish for cleaning up after other fish that miss their food for a beginner.
Yep. Okay, Foxy. And Peplin, you if you guys want to, I don't have a spot for
together.
Peplin's score.
We
Okay.
could be together.
Yeah, I definitely give Cory's a 10. They are the perfect gateway fish to the hobby. They're very tolerable of parameter swings, especially as a fish keeper is learning how to keep the fish. I still have my original Cory's that I got when I first started learning how to keep tanks. And let me tell you, those guys have been through some abuse, and those trilenitis are still kicking. So 10 out of 10.
That's awesome.
Fish keepers.
And the only reason why I didn't pick 10 was I know it's on the list, but I haven't thought about it yet. So it's like, what if there's somebody that deserves it better? That's the only reason why I didn't put a 10.
Because
love
of
that.
how hardy they are, how adorable they are, and they get you more curious, and especially how easy they are to breed, I have to give them a 10. They just pull you in and want to have you try other types of fish. So they're a gateway fish. 10.
Absolutely.
Well, and I rolled the dice. Who's person number 8?
Well, we only got 7.
Okay. If we don't get
Somebody say
the
something.
threshold of 10, we'll go with the other number 2.
All right, number 2 is Craig's Catfish Kate with number 10.
Well, catfish is in his name.
Thank you, Whip.
So 48 out of a possible 50. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
deserve
good
it.
for. Yeah, well, I mean, it was like we picked the Wayne Gretzky of fish, maybe right off the bat. I don't know. Okay, and the one thing is I can't read what this fish is from the photo, so I used a different program to make these videos today.
Bala
Ooh,
shark.
Bala shark.
Mm.
Okay, and then we'll do it again. These guys are so cute. I love them, but they get really big, and I don't suggest any beginner to ever have them. But they are a top 10 fish on
But you're
Petco
starting with a
for-
really big tank.
So I'm going to give them a 4. Okay, and then let's go this way again. We'll finish up with James this time. Skipper.
I'm giving it a 0.
Oh,
It is a great fish, but it ain't a great beginner fish. Because like a lot of people, whenever they get a tank, they're normally getting a 10 or 12, 20 to start out. That thing could be a tank buster, and those
yeah.
two are too small for that. And a lot of times they don't think about that when we're trying to sell these fish. Because a lot of beginners, they're just not educated to know, what it's going to become.
Yeah. Okay, Foxy. What do you think of them?
I agree. They are not a beginning fish keeper's fish. They're usually labeled incorrectly. They really should be talked about more about how big they get, the size of the tank they're going to need. And it's going to be a struggle bus for the beginning hobbyist, and it might end up pushing them out of the hobby. So I definitely give that a 0 as well. Anything that detracts from getting people to go in further into the hobby is a no for me.
Yep. And well, when I went to their website to find out their top 10 fish, they said they get up to 4 inches long on
Right.
their website. So
Well,
That's
that's
not-
probably because that's all they live up to in the tanks that they sell them
Yeah,
out to.
yeah.
They usually die by 4 inches.
Okay, James, it's up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Foxy pointed out, you mentioned as well, they are, I don't necessarily want to say typically, but a lot of times mislabeled in terms of their actual size and things of that nature. The caveat, I think, why I'm not giving them a 0 is because you do have that small niche of people who specifically start the hobby as monster fish keepers. And so for that select group, I do think that I'll give them a 2 because you do have some people that, are going into it. Like, Monster Fish Keepers website is still a thing, the forum or whatever. Some people, they don't want to do little tanks. They want to do big fish. So they have their place, but it's only for those select people.
Gotcha. Well, I couldn't give less than a 4 because I really like them, but I don't have it, so I don't want to put them in my 200.
They are cute.
Okay.
They are very cute, but
Yeah.
they're often mistreated because they're misrepresented in the stores that they're
Yes.
sold in. So.
And they're really a pretty fish, too.
They are.
Their silver is nice. Well, here we go, Skipper. The number is 4 if we got more than 6 people. If we didn't, it's a 6.
Well, we got more than 6. So what number?
Okay. Number 4.
Dennis Christian with a 4.
Dennis, you're like me. I wish I was like him. He's got the cool hat on.
Oh yeah.
So cool. Okay, so let's see. That is a grand total of a possible 50 total. They got 10. Wow. I think that might be the lowest fish versus fish of all time. Poor guys. Okay.
They're great fish,
Let's
but
see.
they're just not for every beginning
Yeah.
fish keeper.
Yep. The fantail goldfish. Now this is probably all their fancy goldfish, and all these prices might be actually more than $4.99 or less. It's a general price that the average, because they were saying depending on where you are in the country and how big the fish are,
Hmm.
it could flux. But their average price is $4.99 for a fantail goldfish. So, Foxy, why don't you start this one? Because you've had success breeding goldfish.
Yes, and it's not even on purpose. We just move the plants and babies pop out where we move the plants. So we got Blackmore babies all over the house.
Yeah, when you want your fish,
Yeah, we still have our fishies for you. But goldfish are amazing pets, but they are also very dirty and they require a lot of maintenance, really good filtration. They need the right size tank because it depends if you have, not all goldfish are the same. You have the single tails, and then you have the double tails, and then you have the short tails, and then you have the butterfly tails, which all go at different speeds and they all eat differently, and some will outcompete the others. And then they need a lot of space. They're easy to take care of, but they can become too much too fast, and they're usually sold with equipment that's way too small of a space that they require. So for that, I would say for a beginning fish keeper, if they're not going in researched beforehand, I would say a goldfish is probably like, as much as I love them, I would say like a 3.
A 3?
Beginning fish keeper, yes.
Okay. How about you, James?
So Foxy once again touched on a very valid point. I think it's a general issue we have is that a lot of new fish keepers don't understand proper filtration for what I'll say is our standard fish tank setups, let alone for something that can be a little bit dirtier like goldfish or other fish. So if you probably aren't setting up a tank that's doing enough filtration for your tetras, it's fair to say that you're most likely not setting up proper filtration for your goldfish as a new fish keeper. So that, again, as Foxy mentioned, they get there's some mistreatment that goes on because people don't have all the facts. So I've got to put them probably low as well. I'll give them a 4, just because even though they often go home to improper conditions, they are a hardier fish and they can handle a lot, which does give you time to learn why things are starting to go wrong and react and respond and fix those situations without losing the fish. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, great. Skipper, how about you?
I'm gonna go with the 4 also. I agree with what they both said. I really ain't got much to say about it after what they both just said. They touched on everything. 4.
Absolutely love goldfish, but they're not
Well-
always treated right because of how they're represented. So
I agree. A lot of people think goldfish are for goldfish bowls, which is a mistake. But they were the first fish that I sold as a little kid. But I was lucky because my dad was selling and breeding fish. So I wanted to do something that he wasn't. He was doing cories and guppies. So I wanted to do something different. And of course, I didn't know how to breed them, but I could get them for like a quarter and grow them out. And I mentioned that even in James's stream just last hour. But because I had that background on them, I knew I had to do water changes a lot with them and stuff. So I don't think they're ideal for kids or beginners, but they are so beautiful. And if you have a big tank and you're the right person, kind of like the guy who wants to start giant fish. If he has a great big fish tank and would get like a big old filter on that thing, it might be awesome. And they're just going to flutter around like jellyfish. It'd be kind of neat. So I'm going to give them a 4 also. I have a hard time giving a fish lower than a 4. I have a hard time. Okay. And that's weird. It has like a little circle around the 7, but it's a 7 or a 2.
We got 10 people.
Okay.
Benjamin Peters with a number 2.
Oh, Benjamin. Not a goldfish guy. So it's 12. 17 for the goldfish. So far, it looks like you only go to PetSmart for cories. Oh, what am I doing? I'm shaking the dice instead of picking the next photo. Okay, this one I can see good. The Neon Tetra. Oh, it's so quick I only can say it once. But neons, I can't believe how expensive neon fish have gone up.
Oh, yeah.
Almost $3 for a neon tetra. I remember when you could get 3 for $1. I'm so old. That's terrible. And when you do neon tetras, you want a bajillion of them. So I'm gonna. You gotta have at least 20. So that's $60 in neon tetras. And if they're from PetSmart, if you're gonna spend $60 on neon tetras, don't go to PetSmart.
No.
Go to your local fish store and buy them. So they're going to be healthy because you don't want to throw away your $60.
yeah,
I'm just saying it. I'm sorry, guys, but neon tetras, I think that was my sister's first fish. She got those with kissing grommies or kissing fish, and the grommies didn't bother them, and she had a neat tank. She had a real cool tank. So I'm going to give the neon tetras. They do die though. So it seems like box store ones just kick over as soon as you put them in the water. But I'm going to go for neon tetras. I'm going to give them a 6 because they're really cool as a school. And if a new person wanted a school fish, they could probably do it easy in a 10-gallon tank with average filtration. So 6. Okay, Skipper, you're shaking your head. You can take this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a 6 because of the fact that it is a smaller fish. Yes, they can be tough to take care of if depending upon where you're getting them from. But yeah, they're great for schooling. If they're starting out with a small tank, like a 10-gallon, that would be great for them. And they don't like they're small fish, so they don't put off a lot of waste. So the regular, Tetra Whisper that comes with some of them would be great for them.
Great points. Okay, Foxy, what do you think?
On the banana story.
Well, they were Brianna's first fish too, and they died within 3 weeks of her having them. So, and she also got them from a big box store.
Might have been PetSmart.
I think it was
Bummer.
PetSmart, and this was probably the past month. So this is very fresh that it happened. And it seems that the big box stores are either genetically weak or they're just so sickly already from all the transportation and then like being put through all the medication and just all the stress that they just don't seem to last very long. So I feel like if it all depends on how healthy they are at the box store. Now you can get a good batch and they're good, and then you have happy fish keepers that go home and plop them in their tanks and they do fine. And then you have ones that bring them home, and as soon as they hit the water, like you said, they're belly up. So they can be 50-50 because of the fish themselves, or how genetically strong they are, how stressed they are. So for that, I'm going to have to go the middle of the road with 5.
You could find tank bred ones though.
Yeah, tank
8
bred
or 9.
ones. Tank bred ones would boost it up to a much higher level. But if they're imported or big box stores, then it's 50-50 if they're gonna make it. So 5.
And 50-50 at $3 a pop gets expensive.
I know that's too much.
Find a breeder.
So what was your number? You like cut out to me right when you said your number.
5.
5. Okay. Okay, James, you get to finish this one off.
Yeah, so for reasons Foxy alluded to right there, I'm the exact same mindset. It's middle of the road for me, and I also am going 5. Short and sweet, to the point.
Okay, and now for the crowd. Number 2, either way, double snake eye 2s.
Oh, that's Whip's World with a 1.
Whip! Oh, Whip hates them because they're little. He's like, those are just food for my fish. Oh, Whip. Well, he got lucky.
He made a comment about them. The more you buy, the more they die.
Yeah, it's terrible. Go to your local fish store and look for fat ones. That's what I would say. It's the same way with AutoCats. AutoCats aren't on this list. Never buy your AutoCats at PetSmart. When they're sucking on the glass, you can see if they have a nice little round belly, they're healthy. But if it's sunken in, they aren't eating anything. And PetSmart doesn't want any algae whatsoever in their tank. So they're just starving. So they're completely emaciated. And even if you bring them home to a tank filled with algae for them to eat, sometimes they still die, which is a bummer. So that's bummer. But yep. So let's go to the next one. I can't see what it is because it's too small. Guppies! Now,
27. Sorry.
Guppies from box stores. I have had a hard time with box. I tried so hard to make a strain that I got from Petco. They were really pretty. They were almost fluorescent orange tails. And I had to keep them above 80 degrees. As soon as that tank would go below 80, I got them off salt. But I couldn't get them cooled to normal temperatures. And as soon as it would drop under 80, they would start dying. And I couldn't maintain that heat in my fish room, and I ended up losing them all. And I worked for almost 2 years on that stupid line just to say I had a box store guppy that lived. And I was going to slowly try to introduce females that had bigger fins and try to make it a super box store fish, you know. But
Box
that
fish.
project, yeah, it just
Super butt.
it never worked. So go get your guppies off of Get Gills or John Oliver or your local fish clubs. Somebody, James is eventually going to be selling them. You know, whoever you know that actually, and Stephen P sells them, you know, or he gives them away. But I don't know. He kind of does both. You know, go find somebody that you know that has guppies and get them from there, because you're going to just be so much happier. Even though it might cost you $30 a pair, it's better than throwing your money away on those. So I'm going to give those guppies a 2, and I'm a guppy-holic. Okay. Foxy, I'll let you go.
I'm gonna let the guppy snob answer this one.
Well, I only see males whenever I'm in there. So, but guppies are fun. They're beautiful. Kids love them. You know, they're probably going to be healthier than your tetras from PetSmart, but they'll probably die anyway. But I'd say a 4 as far as PetSmart ones. If you know a breeder, go get some healthy ones. You'll love them.
Okay. James, I'll let you go.
I almost want to give a 5 just to give that little extra point for the love of guppies, but I'm really more around a 4. My thoughts. So when I buy box store guppies, I buy them with the expectation they are probably not going to live, and I picked the gravid females that look like they're going to live long enough to give birth. So I essentially, when I buy box store guppies, I'm only buying them if I see a female that I like that can probably survive long enough to have a first drop. Because typically once they have that drop, then that strain does a lot better. And then, of course, the next generation, even better in your water. But that's kind of my thoughts and experiences, because, as previously mentioned, big box store guppies don't really tend to do well. So I'll give them a 4 based on the fact that you can, if you time it right, you can buy one fish. It may or may not die, probably will, but you can get, you know, dozen, 2 dozen, however many babies from buying that one fish. So if you know how to do it, or it's right, you can get a whole bunch of fish for the cost of one.
That's a great idea, and I forgot to mention that, because if they're gravid,
Now,
the babies adapt to the water. Well, the one thing I'm sorry, Skipper, I'm just going to speak one more thing on this. Is box store guppies, sometimes they don't even put females with the boys, so you don't know that because they don't want you to match their lines.
Yep.
And just because you're picking a female out of this tank with an orange tail and the boys, sometimes females have blue tails and the boys have red tails, but they're the same line. So I mean, you don't know what you're getting for sure with a true line also. But I'm sorry, Skip, it's all you.
Well, I'm going to give him a step above. I believe I said the Neon Tetra. I think I said a 4. I think. I'm going to give them a 5. Normally, the experience that I had with them, they definitely lasted longer than the Tetras.
You gave them both a 5.
Oh, well, then I'll give it a 5 anyway. We'll just keep it there. I already said it. But I've had good experience with them, bringing them back, but it's all about what they look like whenever you pick them up at the box store. I mean, there's times they get a load of guppies in and they got half of them floating by the next day. You know, you don't know what they're going to get. So I'm gonna give them a 5.
Nice. Okay, and now let's see what the people say. Number 7.
Oh, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Mike's Aquatics and Things with the 0.
Mike, Mike does not like guppies. Holy cow! This might be the lowest scoring we've ever had in one of these things. Okay, a 15 for guppies,
Well,
and they're fish that could fit in little tanks.
it's going to. I think that a lot of the scores are going to be low because of where you're getting them from.
Yeah, PetSmart has a lot to do
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And so we did have a couple questions while we're basing it on PetSmart. I don't know if you wanted to touch back on that real quick.
Oh, sure. Okay, what I did is I went to the PetSmart website and I picked their top 10 selling fish. And this, because PetSmart is the one, I mean, I could have picked Petco or one of the other chain, but I went with this because they're they sell the most fish in America, which is a sad concept, but it's because like our wonderful independent fish stores are all independent. You know, all of our mom and pops are independent. There's no chain that does healthy fish. So that's why we're going with PetSmart as the local chain. I mean, if Walmart still had fish, I'd probably be doing Walmart. As sad and scary as that sounds, because Walmart was a big seller of fish also. And so now, earlier in James' show, we found out that PetSmart might be going out of business, and somebody said, "Is that good or bad?" And I think James, we were talking bad, but I think it could also be good for the fish market because I think box stores have hurt our hobby in this country severely, with price gouging and selling stuff to people that shouldn't be sold to people. Like hang off the back filters. I love hang off the back filters, but I don't love buying a cartridge every month of the year. And so a beginner goes in and they end up spending $500 on fish that die in 2 weeks and they quit because they said, this is ridiculous. I spent all this money. And I think that is why America has a very low population of fish compared to Europe and Asia. It's crazy how much less. I think there's 7 million people was the last time I heard, and this was before COVID. And I think COVID really helped stimulate fish. But before COVID, we had 7 million fish hobbyists in the country. And in Hong Kong, there's like 12, just in that city, there's like 12 million fish tanks. So we are a desert compared to Europe and Asia when it comes to fish.
And they're also way ahead of us as far as it comes to the aquarium hobby. We need to play a lot of catch up when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have the wrong people giving information out. And we have people, we have corporations giving information out to make money instead of to have healthy fish. And I think that's really hurt our hobby.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to get on a big sidekick. I hope that if Petco or PetSmart goes out, it's going to be hard on us for fish tanks probably, even though they don't normally have the big sales. It's Petco that has the big sales. But I just, I hope that it helps our local fish stores instead of hurts them.
Well, if they go out of business, then Petco has no one to
Okay,
price
let's see here.
They can jack their prices up.
Yeah.
I think we could do a whole hour on that. The
There's
whole
no way to
topic.
keep them competitive if there's no one to compete with them.
Yeah, I wish I could see what people are saying. Are they all saying, BS, Ed, you're freaking retarded? I can be on a soapbox once in a while.
No, like they're saying
Okay.
Yeah, they're not supposed to say that word, Ed, so I don't think they're saying
BS?
it.
Soapbox?
The R word.
The R word, Ed.
Retail stores. I don't know what I said.
Okay,
Okay,
Got it.
let's see. What are we at? We just did guppies. Here we go with now this had two different names, but the common goldfish.
Is that feeders?
Yeah, those are feeders.
Common goldfish.
Feeders?
Yeah, they're basically feeders. They also called them comet goldfish.
Yeah.
Single tails.
Yeah, I guess if you just want to have one fish to see if you can keep them alive, or maybe maybe buy a tub this summer. If you never had a fish ever, buy a tub, put a real pretty lily that you get at Lowe's in there, a sponge filter and an air pump, and get 1 or 2 commons and just see them grow up. And then try to find somebody that can take them off your hands when it gets cold. That might be a perfect way for somebody to fall in love with fish. I don't know. But I would never buy a feeder goldfish because they are so. I wouldn't even buy them as feeder goldfish. I wouldn't want to feed my fish those fish. I mean, just look. This is a Petco photo. You will see this at every Petco. Brazilians of fish, all in those little 20-gallon tubs. I mean, I even at 36 cents a pop. Man, I'm sorry, I can't do that. So this is going to be the first time I've ever given a 0 to a fish.
It's nothing personal, fish.
Okay, Foxy, you get to go.
Oh, goodness. You know, you hear stories where they've had the one feeder goldfish that has escaped the feeding and has grown up amongst the pack, and they're the best fish ever. But that's very, very rarely the case. They're not bred to be pets. They're more bred to be food. So they're not bred for genetics or strength or cold for anything. So they're prone to tumors and swim bladder issues and fin rot issues and parasites. And then you're feeding that to your fish, or you're trying to grow it up to be a healthy fish. And that's just like a 36-cent heartache for your little one that's so excited to be watching that fish all day long. And then at age of month 4, they develop a swim bladder impaction and pass away. So for that, I'm going to have to double down with 0 on those fish. They're just not a good from a pet store anywhere. Just the feeder goldfish are
They're not
sad
bad in the
and they're
pond
just-
though, like you said.
Yeah, they're good for feeding like wild fish if you want to, but I wouldn't. They shouldn't exist because they just don't do well. I wish they didn't exist.
When I was
for
young,
that
they were a
reason.
staple. Everybody bought
Yeah.
feeders. You know, it
And
was
then-
just part of how
And then we learned some things. And then they're not treated so well. And then, you know, their genetics get worse and their health gets worse. And then they get sick. And then that sickness can be passed on to the fish they're fed to. So, or they can contaminate their surroundings and whatever you put them. So I'm going to, 0. Big old fat 0.
Well, James, it's up to you to give them a point to get them on the board.
I contemplated it just for a second. I was going to jokingly say I'm going to give him a 10 since we're killing all these fish off ways. We might as well get the cheapest ones to kill off possible, so they get a 10. But I am going to go with a 0 because I'm on the same page as Foxy, and I think you all as well. I wish there weren't feeder goldfish in stores. I'm not against 100%, any feeders. I think that you could do feeder fancy guppies, feeder endlers. I've done feeder convict cichlids before. Fish that you can raise that are healthy, that you don't have to deal with the Thioamines issues and other things that I won't digress into. But I don't think you should be able to walk into a store and buy these generally disease-ridden, as mentioned, horribly cared for, not healthy diet, nutrition-wise, feeder fish, super cheap. I don't think they should be there. The goldfish, no, so
And
0.
That's coming from a guy who has very large fish that are carnivores, and
Yeah.
he's saying no to those feeder fish. And I mean, that would be a
Well-
cheap diet for those fish if he was for it. And
I
he's
mean,
that
we have
far
a
against-
million axolotls too, and that would be a cheap diet for them, but we would not be feeding them those. Absolutely not.
So, and that's
It's been a
to
big
your
progression over the years to get into the dry foods over
Yeah.
the live foods.
yeah. I'll have people that.
Back then were very popular.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you there, Pep, when I had a little delay on mine. Just real quick to your point, I get a lot of people directed me about piranhas because I've kept and bred piranhas for a decade and a half. And the first thing I go to is, what are you planning on feeding? Because if you're one of those people that's just like, well, I'm going to feeder goldfish no matter what, we're not even going to have a conversation because I'm not going to help you with that. So,
And I didn't put this on the list because I wanted just us all to dog on it. It is one of their top 10 selling fish.
Yep.
So that's why it's on the list. Okay, Skip.
Well, I got to give them a 0 also. It stems back from whenever we were kids going to the fair and you throwing the ping pong balls in the little goldfish dishes. And now what they don't understand is they can get up to 16 inches. It blew my mind whenever I was at another bulk store, and on that feeder goldfish tank, they actually put on there they drew with a marker or whatever, measurement. They're letting people know now that they are getting that big. At first they didn't, but because they're 36 cents, people were like, "Oh man, it's cheap fish. I'm just going to get that," because, as you said before, the neons, they went up to almost $3 a fish. Whenever they used to be, a quarter or whatever. But yeah, I gotta give them a 0 because them fish have just been so much bred for the wrong reasons. The way that they, and how they're doing it, and with all the diseases, they can get it back them and they could be dead in. I've seen whenever I was there once, like 10 minutes, the whole tank just is like they put a nuke in there. So I got to give them a 0.
Okay. Well, the number is 4. Both came up 4 again. So it's up to the people to give them a point. Will this be the first 0 of all time?
It's your first 0. We got first class fish. Or no, you said number 4. Dennis Christian with the 0.
All right, Dennis. Well, I was thinking somebody with first class fish probably has some class when it comes to feeder fish. That's hard. But awesome, Dennis. So that's our first 0. Oh, what's James going to say?
I just want to throw something out there real quick because we are doing a lot of crapping on PetSmart. There are some really great stores out there, and I know some employees at stores, and they do a job. Unfortunately, we have to look at this from the broad perspective, and statistically speaking, that is the exception, not the rule. And so that's kind of what we're going off of. If you can find one of those PetSmarts, Petco's, box stores that actually has enlisted employees and allows them to do the job of properly caring for fish and doing what needs to be done, you can have wonderful experiences at those places. It's just not the status quo, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
across the board with that.
Yeah, I have a wonderful one that just got built in Cleveland near Bob Kaler. And I mean, they actually have glass instead of acrylic giant tanks. And it's very nice. And I bought fish from my mom there. It's very nice. And then the one in Hickson, every time I go in there, the manager tries to hire me. Take care of his fish. So, I mean, but, and when it comes to box stores, I picked PetSmart because I picked PetSmart over Petco when it comes to fish. I think that PetSmart does a better job than Petco. And those are the 2 box stores that I have around me at all times.
Now, if I still lived in Pennsylvania, I would agree. PetSmart was definitely way better than Petco in quality of fish in my area. But here, they're both bad. All the fish are very sickly. All the bettas have holes in all of their fins, and there's fish floating in all the tanks, and it's messy.
Got to go to the
It's very
hardware
messy.
store to get good fish.
Yeah,
around
we
here.
get our fish from Ace Hardware here, not from PetSmart or Petco.
I have some beautiful Red Lantern platies that I got from a Petco in Nashville. That's just beautiful. And the Petco in Cleveland near Bob is not both. Everything in near Bob seems to be nice, but the Petco in Hickson is just terrible. That's the suburb closest to me. Okay, so next fish. Oh, a first time ever 0. So we will, for here on out, for Fish versus Fish, we will remember the common goldfish is the biggest 0 of all fish. Okay, here's one that I bought from Petco. I mean, PetSmart. Well, and Petco, because I just said it. Mollies. And actually, no, I bought platies from Petco. Oh, Nico's waking up. This, I've seen very healthy mollies at Petco. And it's the one place where a lot of your mom and pop shops won't sell mollies because Petco and PetSmart sells them so cheap. So it might be one of the only places where you can find mollies. And I think mollies are a good starter fish. They pop babies out like crazy. If you get Dalmatians, they would be super cute. You know, the black and white. I've never had Dalmatians, and I've thought about doing it someday if I saw some that looked real healthy. I'm going to give my mollies a 7. I'm going to give them a 7. Okay, James, let's hear what you think about pet store mollies.
I'm going to give them an 8. I think when you go, get you some Corys and get you some mollies. Like you pointed out, they tend to be a lot healthier than a lot of the other fish for whatever reason. Maybe that just has to do with supply chain and things like that. But they also, kind of to talk about what you touched on there, you tend to be able to find more varieties there. Like I'll often see maybe 6 different types of mollies in like a Petco or a PetSmart, at least in the areas and places I've been. And they seem to be doing really well and not having as many issues as like the guppies we talked about and things like that. So it's one of those situations I would recommend go with the mollies over the guppies if you're at the PetSmart.
You know, one other nice thing is the females look just like the males, so you know that you're getting the same line too. I'm gonna cheat and say I'm gonna go 8 also, like James, because I really liked everything he said. Okay, Skipper, make me go back to a 7.
No, I'm giving them a 9 because I've had very good luck with the mollies that I've gotten from the box store. I mean, I've hardly seen them sick in there at the one I go to, which is a Petco. But of course, now I got good people that work there. But they just seem to do really well for me whenever I used to get them. Now you got me thinking about getting them again, especially the Dalmatian mollies. I really love Dalmatian.
I know.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Oh, I've had them. I love them. I'm gonna have to get some now. Daggone it. But anyways,
Dang it. I think I might too.
but yeah, I mean, I gotta give them a 9. It's a good starter fish. They're very hardy. They were for me, and a pair of them would be fine at a 20.
Nice. Okay, Foxy, what do you think of mollies?
I think they're adorable. I personally never kept mollies myself. So I've lived vicariously through others with mollies. So it's hard for me to judge them, but knowing that they come from a pet store, big box store, and that generally overall their fish aren't the healthiest, but these guys in chat, everyone seems to have good stories about them, and you guys seem to think that they are good, but I can't really rate them. What do
I
you
had them
think?
a lot. I bred them a lot when I was a kid. Mollies and flatties. Took them back to the store, traded them in, stuff like that. I've had them a long, long time. I don't have any now. She probably get some, so she could have some. Yeah, I'll go 7. Just because PetSmart. PetSmart wasn't involved, I'd go higher.
Yeah, I've had some pure
Great
species
starter
fish, but I've never had mollies.
Great starter fish. We used to start our saltwater tanks with mollies.
Well, and like I say, I think that mollies, maybe they're just such a hardy fish. That's why the box stores have gravitated to them, making it so local little mom and pop shops don't get them just because of that. Because they're a healthier fish and they're affordable. And I've got wild mollies that this guy and Kenny E and me, when we were down visiting Father Fish, that we caught.
And
They
how are they
actually got me
doing?
a little medal. They got me this medal
Nice.
when I brought them to the clash. So, number 2.
Well, number 2 is Xanadu. He says 3.
Let's do 3. Oh, 3! I'm not going to heal him next time we're in playing Dungeons and Dragons. That's how that's going to work.
Hear that?
Ouch.
Holy cow. 3. That got them a 36. That 3 hurt. But you know what? He had dental work today. He was at the dentist, so maybe he's grumpy right now. I don't know. I have to think positive about him somehow because he's such a nice guy. Okay, let's go to something else. The glowfish. Glowfish. Some people hate them, some people love them, but they're in the top 10. I think they're the number 2 fish or number 3 fish that they sell. You can't buy them really anywhere else in a box store too, because I think most independent fish stores won't pay the big bucks to bring them in. But I'll start this one. I had my first experience with glowfish. I wasn't going to do it, but my mom really wanted them for her fish. I bought a fish tank for my dad, and it turned into my mom's. And she loves glowfish because she thinks they're so pretty. And they're the white skirt tetras is the ones that she picked. They're the ones that are displayed right here. It's those tetras right there. They've been amazing. I mean, she's had them for over, I don't know, 8 months now. It's been a while, and they're all super fat and healthy. They're amazing, and I got them at the really good Fish Mart or PetSmart in Cleveland, and I decided, I'm going to get her some Danios just to see how they do in there with them, the glowfish Danios, and I bought 8 of those, and the Danios kept dying. I'm like, this isn't cool. Well, we caught the white skirts are killing the Danios. These white skirts were killing the little ones. So I would return these carcasses back to them. They kept giving me new ones. And I just took the final 4 of the 8 new ones and I put them in a fish tank downstairs. And so now they're living with my grass guppies. And they're doing amazing. So I want to eventually learn how to breed them myself. But I know people hate them. People don't, they brought a lot of people into the hobby. They brought my mom, who's been against fish for 50 years. So I'm going to give glowfish a big old 7. I know it might be sacrilegious, but I'm going to just do it. Okay. James got a whole bunch of free ones once.
Yeah. So I am looking at this from the perspective of something we've talked about with a lot of these fish, which is quality control, care, and the genetics of them. And because they can't just be sourced anywhere, and they're kind of, I guess, more constraints on how they're bred and how they're sent out and all of that, I do tend to think they run closer to the healthier side of the things that you find at PetSmart. They're going to be on the healthier side versus a lot of these really poor quality fish. I'm going to give them a 7. I'm going to put them below the mollies just because I think I would rather you go in and get some mollies and enjoy those little live bearers and whatnot. But I do put them up there high because, like I said, they're pretty. They do bring a lot of people into the hobby, and typically they are one of the more healthy fish that you will find in a PetSmart, Petco box store situation because they're very specifically sourced. So
and expensive. Maybe that's what they keep them on their own sum. So maybe they just really keep them.
They know better.
They probably can't get a contract with them otherwise.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
Yeah, a white skirt tetra costs $3 or $3.50, and I love them too. I would say go buy some white skirts, or black skirt tetras. I mean, they're both cute little fish. He had a black skirt tetra that lived with an Oscar, a whole bunch of super aggressive fish, and then he has this one little black skirt tetra that all these cichlids loved. It was so cute and it was awesome.
That's
he was
crazy.
Craigslist special.
It was really neat. I loved checking that guy out every time I went to his house. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, I think they might maybe that's why they're just healthier, because they cost so much more from those places. Okay, Skipper, I'll let you go.
I'm going to go with the 7 also. They're very hardy fish in the stores because, one, they are on their own sump. They very rarely put other fish in with them. I've never seen them with other fish. So I think they're very well taken care of, and because of, only glowfish can make glowfish to sell. It got my daughter into the hobby, so I kind of like it for that aspect. Would I own them? If I would, it'd be the Danios because I think they're cooler. I mean, they got so many different varieties now. They got the Danio, your Tetras, Rainbow Shark, Tiger Barbs, Bettas, and they just started doing Corridorus.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really bright looking colors, but yeah,
They just started Priscilla Tetras
yeah.
too.
So the 7.
Crazy. Wow. 5 years ago when these things first came out, James and I, if we would just say glowfish, we were almost executed on the stream. So I'm amazed that it's got 3 7s. Or I haven't read what people are saying. Maybe my sub numbers are going.
Yeah, one person said
Okay,
Chris
Foxy.
by him. Somebody said unsubscribing. No, I'm just kidding.
This is now, Foxy, be careful because you need 40 subs. If you say the wrong thing, this might cost you or may win you. Who knows?
Well, I am not the biggest fan of genetic modification just for prettiness sake. Excuse you, Jimmy P. I'm live streaming at the moment. But
That's
but with these guys, at least the company that has them trademarked is keeping the responsibility of them, breeding them. They're picking fish that aren't hard to care for, that are easy for beginner fish keepers to take care of. They're more hardier of fish, and they're very attractant to children who are very interested in bright, colorful everything. They're like Lisa Frank paintings in a tank. So, of course, the kids are going to love it. Who's not going to love something that glows? So, I think it's a really good beginning fish because of how they're cared for, and the company makes the big box stores take care of their fish better because they know the value in that fish.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I have to give them a higher number. A dock for the genetic alteration, but still a high number because they get a lot of people into the hobby. So a 7.
8. Give you a point for aquarium cop.
7. Okay. Cop says 8 then.
Oh,
He,
wow.
he made them
Yes.
popular for a lot of people, or made them acceptable. So
If I could pull an Ed and add one thing on here, we talked about price point. That higher price point, I feel like helps keep people from overstocking them versus throwing a whole bunch of them in there. Okay, well, we're just going to get 4 of these for the 10-gallon and see how it goes.
And then when they adjust, we can afford 4 more next payday. So all of that's another good scheme that they're going with to make sure that they don't overpopulate.
we
or
bred them
overstock
once
anything
for
fast.
funsies.
Yeah, we were gifted them, and they made some babies, and we sent them home with fish.
That's awesome. What? The number? Oh, well, it was number 1.
Number 1 is Leslie Perry with a number 10.
Whoa, Leslie. She likes them. Well, that ended up getting that fish a 39. Wow. I did not see that coming. I think you know what? Good job, Fish Fam, for being open-minded and kind to fish. Okay. Now, here's one of my favorites. The Zebra Daniel. The Zebra Daniel. And they're affordable.
They are, and they're very hardy. Very hardy.
They're fun because they're all over the place. I think they're a super fish for beginners. If you put like a castle, they're going to be going through it. They're one of the few fish that's like, other than like a red-tailed shark or something, that's going to go through it. Danios are all over the joint. And I like Danios. I'm going to score Danios the same as a Molly and give them you know what? No, Mollies have babies, and I think that's really good for beginners. I mean, and Danios have babies too, but they're harder. I'm going to give them a 7. But I should have given Molly's a higher. That's what happened last time Molly's came up on one of these fish versus fish. I wanted to give the Molly's a higher score, and I regretted it through the whole thing. And now I wish I would have given Molly's a 9. Darn it. But oh well. Zebras. See, zebras are one better than a glowfish because they're more affordable. Oh well, they get a 7 because they can't be better than a Molly. Okay, James, it's up to you. Change my mind.
Well, I'm not going to change your mind. I'm actually right there with you. Specifically, going off of what you mentioned with breeding them. Yeah, you can breed them. I've got a tank down here, and I breed them, but it's definitely not as easy as your live bears. So they get that one little notch less because it does take more work, and the fry are so small when they hatch out. You really have to do some specific things to get them to survive. Versus, if you put out your mollies, they pop out the live bears, and you're essentially good to go. So, 7.
Okay, Foxy.
I'm
And
gonna
Pep?
have to go with a 9. I think these fish are amazing fish for beginning fish keepers from a pet store because they're super hardy. They can take a lot of abuse, especially when you're learning how to keep your tank right. And for me, they were the 3rd fish I ever kept, and I got 6, and I ended up with 300 on accident. So they actually are really good breeders, prolific, and all you got to do is move the parents out of the tank and not realize there's eggs in the tank. And a few days later, you're left with billions of babies.
Wow, that's awesome.
I said, like you said, James, that they are very small, but I was able to get them through just on powdered fish flake. And they made it through, and then I had to rehome them all before I moved to Wisconsin. So that was fun. But it was fun because I got so many, but then also I was in a panic mode because they were in a 10-gallon. So I went out and bought a 110-gallon stock pond and put it in my bedroom. And then I had 300 zebra danios in my bedroom all winter long. So
That's awesome.
I think they're awesome. They're very active. They're very entertaining. They're very hardy. They're pretty much peaceful. And if you're lucky, you can easily make more of them. So for that, I'm going to have to stay 9.
Zebra Danios, the new feeder fish of PetSmart.
Yeah, Bowder.
And a great dither fish
Yeah.
too.
Yes, they are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You can make the shy ones come out a lot easier, yeah.
Okay, Skip,
What
do you got for us?
I'm giving them a 10. The reason why I'm giving them a 10,
Oh.
it was one of my best beginner fish that I've had. I've always had them. Do I have them now? No. Now I'm going to want to get some. This is bad. But
You know, this has been a bad
it
episode.
was actually the first egg layer that I bred. Believe it or not, I bred them in a 55-gallon. I had a cup with some stone and yarn acting like moss, and they dropped their eggs right in there, even though they are an egg scatter.
Mm-hmm.
But I was amazed by it. But yeah, they are hardy, and I love how they school.
Yeah.
Yep. I love how they school. They're great. If you want a lot of movement in your tank, they're nonstop. They might
And that beautiful flash of blue they have on their sides. They're just beautifully colored as well.
They are. So I'm gonna go with a 10 with them. They're there with my the Corey Doris, because they're just one of my favorite beginner fish. Also,
Well, that's awesome. I don't know if that's a 9 or a 6.
it's a 9 because it has a dot.
Okay. So number 9.
That would be Harley Parsons with an 8.
Ooh. Nice.
Zebra Danios are also highly used in research because of how clear their eggs are. So they're used in their embryonic studies for scientific purposes. So that's another big reason why they're so genetically hardy, is that they're used so much in science.
They were the first glowfish.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the last one, and we've gone over by almost 9 minutes, so we need to wrap it up anyway. But here we go. the African cichlids. African cichlids. Now, there's a wide variety of African cichlids you can get. The yellow labs from them always look great. They always look very yellow, but then I see their peacocks are sometimes washed out quite a bit. So they're kind of generalizing all of the African cichlids together. And the one that was right next was going to be the angelfish. So that's how they're sold right before the angels. So for Africans, I think African cichlids you can almost buy any as a base. If you're starting out, if you would buy two like labs, look for which one, one with egg spots and one without, so you get a boy and a girl. That would be a fun beginner fish for, I think, a sixth grader. I think that'd be a really fun one with a lot of rocks and maybe a pot or some type of little cave so they would see the babies. I mean, they got to figure out what they're going to do with those babies, but it would be a fun beginner fish if you just got a male and a female and started with that. So I'm going to go, and I'm not a cichlid guy, I'm going to go with a 6. No, I'm not, because I put zebra danos as a 7. They should be higher. I'm going to give them a 5. Okay, and Peplin, you're a huge cichlid guy. So what do you guys say for cichlids?
I would
And
say,
Fox, you get to override him, though, because your name's first. If he picks it wrong.
okay, so cichlids, if you wanted to go to PetSmart and buy a fish that ain't going to die, that might be one of the top ones to grab. As far as a beginner getting cichlids, probably not the best idea. If you got, it's just not the best idea. There's a lot of things you got to learn about them, the aggression and whatnot. But as far as buying a fish that ain't going to die, that might be a good one.
And also, typically, they require a much larger initial tank than what beginner fish keepers start out with. So it's not a fish that they can go home and fit in a bowl, which God never, please don't put a big fish in a bowl. Or a small tank. They need a pretty sizable tank, and mom and dad isn't always going to foot the bill for 55, 75, 125 for the kids starting out in a hobby. So at that point, I think it's a little not the best fish to start with, but they're one of the more healthier fish at the pet store. So what do you do there? What would you give them?
5.
I'll bump it up to a 6 because Aquarium Cop would say otherwise. He would say, those are very entertaining fish. It gets the kids in there.
Yeah.
We'll do it anyways.
Problem is you end up with 2 cichlids this big at a 10-gallon.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately.
don't do nothing about it.
That's why I even in the photo, though, is the yellow lab. And they're kind of, they're a pretty small, they're a smaller one. I mean, they'll maybe get 3 inches. But well, let's hear what Skipper has to say. And this is the last fish of the night. So we went through their top 10. Oh, I left bettas off.
No comment.
Because I didn't know if we were going to talk about fish that were community or not. So that's why I left the bettas off, because I just kind of feel sorry for how they're treated there.
I'm going to go with a 5. I'm going to tell you, whenever I first got cichlids, they were star sapphire cichlids. And because of me not knowing much about them, not the ones behind me. Because whenever I brought them home, it wasn't too long, they all died. And I was trying to figure out why. Well, I messaged Pepper. I'm like, I know you have these. I said, where did I mess up? And he started telling me stuff about, well, what's your water? Well, I had to add aragonite to that. A beginner fish keeper ain't going to know that. Now, as far as at a box store, the ones that I have been to, I've never bought cichlids from there. But they do look pretty healthy. Especially the yellow labs and Mabunas and stuff like that they have. So I'm going to have to go with a 5.
Okay. And then And then James's wife is into cichlids more than he is, but he's had some awesome cichlids in the past. So
Don't let her know my score. Yeah, so
I'll message her right after the stream.
right here's the problem I have. I agree with what you all have said 100%. To add on to that, I feel like it's far too easy to go in there as a beginner hobbyist and go, well, give me 2 of those and 1 of those and 3 of those, and you end up mixing Haps and Buenos Peacock, a bunch of things that may not be so good together, and you may run into a lot of issues. And even as somebody that's, been in the hobby for 20 years now, those not being my thing, like you mentioned, those are the missus thing. I have even, like when we went to the big fish deal and I bought $500 worth of cichlids at auction, brought them home and she's like, this is great, but these can't be with these, and you need another tank for these, and you're going to have to do this. And I'm like, you're welcome.
You're like, I give up.
Yeah. She was happy, but she's like, this isn't going to work, right? And I'm like, we'll make it work. We'll set up more tanks. So that's why I'm going to give them a 5, just middle of the road. If you're somebody that's going into it and you have decided I want to become a hobbyist because I saw an African cichlid tank and you know what you're doing, great. But there's so much room for error, and these fish are going to get bigger than I thought, like was mentioned, or these aren't going to be compatible and they're going to fight and beat the crap out of each other. It's just so middle of the road. Could be great, could be not so great.
right now they have a very average score going into it. We got 1 6 and 3 5s. So it's up to the people to either destroy them or make them good. No matter what, they're not going to be the worst or the best at this score. But let's check it out. It's going to be who is number 3.
Curl Kitty with a 2.
Oh. And was that Killer Kitty?
Yeah, Killer Kitty.
See, I would assume Killer Kitty would like them because they like to kill fish. Color fish. But maybe Killer Kitty just wants the cat killing the fish. But okay, so they got a 23. Okay, so you guys all ready for this? This is the big drum roll. We kind of already know who's number 1. And I bet you if James and I were doing it over, we would have given them a 10. But since we didn't know what was coming up, the Cory Cats got a 48. So good job, Cory Cats. Then
I thought we could change our score, and it's perfect.
Yeah, well, if I do that, I'd change my score on the mollies. Okay, but the number 2 on the Mount Rushmore of fish is the Zebra Dano at a 41. And then the Glowfish at a 39. And then the mollies at a 36. And then it drops like a rock. You have 2 medium or middle of the roads at 23 of the Neon Tetras and the African cichlids that are either going to kill each other or die. And then you've got guppies, which are just, you can get better ones somewhere else. And the Bala shark got a 10, which I thought was probably one of the lowest scores of all time. Oh, and the fantail guppies, or fantail goldfish. Fantail guppies would probably be expensive. But fantail goldfish are 17s. And then the guppies at a 15. The Bala is a 10. And the common goldfish is a 0. Folks, do not buy the common goldfish. So there we have it. Thank you guys so much for playing tonight. Foxy Peplin, you guys were awesome having you up here.
Thank you for
James
having us.
and Skipper, you guys are awesome too. Everybody go sub to Foxy. She knows what she's talking about. She has beautiful fish. She's fun. Sometimes she turns into a mermaid. It's worth
And we have
checking
lots
her
of
out.
these guys too. So
Are those finger puppets?
yes, they are. They're axolotl finger puppets.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. This
They'll
is
be
my
a short
axolotl.
alone. I have one of those up in my terrarium for safekeeping.
And then this is Chris from AquaZone
We've got one of those.
Fish. He won it last year. Haven't got his address. And I got his address twice and I lost it. I was gonna hey, awesome.
Your George Mental goldfish is still here.
Yep. That's awesome. It's kind of
Love
snobby.
it.
And but I forgot what else I was gonna say. I still have another one for Matt somewhere too. And I haven't sent it to Matt. I've got to send a package to him.
You
From
got a $5
Links.
super chat from Killer Kitty.
Ah,
It's
Thank you, Killer.
It says Bravo and it's clapping its hand.
And it's my favorite cat. I know people say it's a fox, but I say it's a cat because I like cats. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everybody that watched. Thank you, mods. You guys are awesome. I'm going to pop this one more time for Foxy. If you aren't sub to her, please go sub to her. It would be awesome. And we will catch you guys in the next one. We're going to do football tomorrow night. And Peplin's going to talk there about his Jets. And this guy's going to talk about his Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe.
So we're not doing
And they
tight
don't even
end?
know it. Yes, at tight ends. And James, you're always welcome. James isn't a big football fan, though. Otherwise, he'd be there with us.
I had it beaten out of me years ago.
Sorry.
Oh. But we'll catch you guys all in the streams. We'll see you later. Bye.
See you, everybody.